They're getting spoiled.
All right.
So welcome. I'm Mary Hamilton with Soul Canyon Training and Development. I will be leading today's training session with my cohort handling all of the technical stuff, Mr. Kevin Barrett from True North Professional Skills Development. Correct? Did I get it right this time?
Development, yes.
Yes.
And the website is True North Skills. That's where the confusion
True North Skills. And this is where it always gets me messed up. But Kevin's got a wealth of knowledge both in the technical field and the people skills, which is kind of a rarity in this day and age. I think that sometimes people are more one-sided or the other, but Kevin's one of those blessed individuals that can do both. I'm looking forward to doing this. We were just having a chat with our good friend Michelle, who's been to a number of our lunch and learns. And we were talking about burnout and the fact that a lot of people are really frustrated over the fact they didn't hit their goals for 2024. And they're just kind of like wadding up the plan of life and tossing it off to the side and like, well, maybe by March of next year, I'll be ready to tackle this stuff again. There's still time in this moment of Christmas holidays or seasonal holidays that we could make a difference in our goals, in our achievements. If you haven't looked at your 2024 goals, you probably should. Because as we start talking about setting goals for 2025, myself, having gone through a lot of challenging things this year, I'm sitting here struggling going, man, I don't know what I want to accomplish for 2025. I really don't. It's like I was all fired up for 2024. Life hit me between the eyes and I just said, wow, I'm so off track. But when I look back at the things I set for 2024, I'm not that far off track. So I'm still heading in the right direction. And that's one of the things I want to talk about when we start talking about setting your goals is how do you set yourself up so that even when you don't hit your goals, that you don't beat yourself up and you continue to move forward. And part of that has to do with being in alignment. So I'm going to start my PowerPoint here. Kevin's going to monitor chat and let those latecomers in. We are going to send you a recording at the end of this. We have talked and set our 2025 lunch and learn schedules out, and we are no longer going to be sending them out to you. You're going to actually have to access them on one of our YouTube channels. So Kevin will have them out on his YouTube channel. I'll have them out on my YouTube channel, and you can access them on YouTube rather than get them in email format. So ready to get started? All right, so I'm going to go into share and hit this one, and I don't think I have a single video out there on this particular website on this one. So let's go to full size. Let's go to hide that screen. Okay. So creating your 2025 goals and in our Lunch and Learn series, I really wanted to ask, what the heck is goals? What is a goal setting mindset? I mean, when they talk about doing goals, what is it? What does it mean? Why is it important? What do you want to accomplish in 2025? As I alluded, I'm struggling with what I want to accomplish in 2025 because a big overall goal is not there. But when I start thinking about the why I want to achieve something, I realize that it really boils down to what's my purpose for my goal. And if you haven't had an opportunity to watch this video, and I'm hoping it works for me, go. You guys let me know if you can hear it. If you can't, I will have to change something. Can you guys hear it?
Can't even see it.
Okay, so let's go back. Oh, yeah, we'll let Kelly in. Let me stop the share and start over with a little bit. I really think that this is a very powerful, a very powerful tool to look at. And when I go to share, optimize sound, optimize video for sharing, there we go. And we go down to this one. We'll see if it works this time.
Always idealized, right? Like, as I said before, I imagine a world in which, right? I know I'm not going to get, like when Martin Luther King said, I have a dream, like one day little black children will hold hands on the playground with little white children, right? Like all of these things.
Okay, can you guys hear that?
Can hear it. I can't see it though.
Dang it. Okay, so it has to be from
but at
where
least we can listen.
That's true. You can. Let me go back to escape that.
If it's opening in a new screen, you might have to just share that screen.
That's what I was going to say. I think it's opening in a different screen. So I'm going to go share. There we go. Now let's try this thing.
Purpose is always idealized, right?
Can you hear it now?
As I said before, I imagine a world in which, right? I know I'm not going to get there. Like when Martin Luther King said, I have a dream, like one day little black children will hold hands on the playground with little white children, right? Like all of these things, they're all strivings. And the milestones that we pass make us feel like we're making progress. And that's why metrics are really important. And milestones.
So can you hear it?
Yes.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Milestones are really important. And the most important thing is context. There's nothing wrong with quarterly numbers or annual numbers. The only question I would ask is, to what end? To what end? Like, you know, I was talking to a young entrepreneur last night, and she's looking for investment. And one of her potential investors said, how long is it going to take you to hit $100 million revenues? And I said, don't take that person's investment. Show me one article, one. I just need one. Show me one article in HBR, one study, I don't care, that demonstrates that hypergrowth or high-speed growth is good for the company on any level. The answer is there are none. The pressure comes from that person trying to achieve their financial goals. So they put pressure on you to make your short-term goals, right? And so there's nothing wrong with goals as long as we understand the context and the purpose of that goal, right? I like to think of money like fuel, right? And a car is the company, and the purpose is the destination, right? And if money is fuel, it makes the car go. You absolutely have to have money to make the company go. There is no dreaming big if you have no fuel. You can have the most beautiful car in the world, and yet if you got no fuel, it's pointless. But we don't own a car to buy fuel, right? We don't have companies simply for the money. Right? It's the destination. You want to be able to go somewhere. And the passengers are the employees, and they're excited, not about the fuel in the car. How much fuel do we have? No one gets excited by that. We get excited where we're going. We're going to Alaska. Are we near? And that's the analogy. And when there's a roadblock, if you're only driven by the metrics, then the way we think about money, the way we think about corporate goals is the same way we think about our goal is to drive 200 miles a day. Our goal is to make X amount of money, right? That's how we think about it. Well, what happens if you drive 150 miles? Is that a problem? What happens if there's a roadblock? Do you know what to do? You start freaking out and panicking because you're going to miss your numbers. Where purpose-driven Companies that know their destinations in the idealized state, they take detours. And to the outside world, it looks like you're going sideways or slowly, but you know you're just going around. And that's how companies actually look. You know, it's circuitous and messy. And purpose helps us keep focused on the very far distant future, so we know we're going in the right vector, even if somebody can't tell we're going in the right direction. And so people have to understand the purpose of the goals you're setting and how they're contributing to something. And start talking, like we and our P&L, I don't have the word profit on my P&L. It doesn't exist. On my P&L, it says freedom. I damn well want more freedom this month than I had last month. Right? Freedom to say no to things I don't want to do. Freedom to give it away. Freedom to take care of my people. I want freedom because profit means nothing. So I'm trying to contextualize all of these words that have no inherent magic to them. So yeah, think of money like fuel, and fuel drives your purpose. Be purpose-driven and talk about the place you're trying to get to and talk about the world that you imagine. And you damn well...
Love that.
So that that is, we gotta stomp out whatever that is. We gotta stomp it. We're gonna watch something else, I guess. Hang on just a second.
There was a secret chord.
Oh, I love that song, but let's stop that. It's probably a violation of something. There we go. We'll get that off. But back to my challenge then, and you missed this, Kelly. I was talking about the fact that I'm really struggling for 2025 to even set a goal. And so when I started looking at what I want to accomplish in 2025, and part of the reason why I wanted to show you this was because that purpose-driven message, I think, is really, really important. And freedom last year was, I've changed my password so I can tell you, for freedom was one of my passwords, because I really want freedom of time, money, and choice. What I can say time, what I can say yes to, what I can say no to. I want time that I can use my way instead of somebody else's way. So whatever it's going to take to get to that freedom, because that's my purpose, is so that I can enjoy the journey and the friends I make along the way. Because my purpose has always been to connect people to opportunities and each other, while I enjoy the journey and the friends. So part of having that joy is having that freedom. So as I started setting goals for 2025, God, it's hard to remember this, 2025, is that you kind of need to know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, you struggle to get there. My family came in 1844 to Oregon, and they had a guide that brought them to Oregon. When I start talking about goals, oftentimes we need a guide to help us get to where we're going, because we don't have the map that it's going to take to get us to where we want to go. And that guide should have a map, the ability to maybe make those detours, to understand what you need to have to get there, like a list of supplies, the technical skills in order to change a wheel and a wagon, you know, those sorts of things. And so as we start setting our goals, one of the things we need to keep in our back of our mind is who can help us get there? And what do we need to do to get there? At Soul Canyon, we're all about building a foundation of who you are and what you want to become based on who you really are. And there's a number of different workshops that we do teaching you that. But the one thing that you can do that's totally free, totally accessible, and I know I say this in almost every training, is journal. Just start writing down, what is it? If you were to plan your life backwards, talk about next year backwards, it would give you a clear idea of where you wanted to go. Like at the end of, let's say, December 2025, what do you want to say about 2025? What do you want to say you've accomplished? So break out the paper and write yourself, hey, it's 2025. This is what I accomplished this year. This is how I did it, and see where it takes you. One of the things that we do in our, gosh, I hope I opened up the right thing. One of the things that we do in planning our journal that we're going to talk about is that we start with, on page 1, we actually start with what are our key accomplishments that we did in 2024. So the very first page in our 2024 journal is not what did we do, what do we want to accomplish in 2025? It's what did we accomplish in 2024? So at the top of your journal on page 1, not the inside covers, because we're going to save those for something else, but on page 1, you write 2024's key accomplishment, and you do it in every category of your life, your work, your home, what you've accomplished for yourself. Because the interesting, pardon me? Did you have a question? So the interesting thing is, when we look at our life and what we've accomplished, oftentimes we think we didn't accomplish anything. I love Lewis's quote here. Isn't it funny how day by day nothing changes, but when we look back, everything's different? It gives you a different perspective when you have the ability to sit down and talk about what did we accomplish this year. This is why I do journaling every day, and why I put it in a journal format, is because I can look back over the year and see what I have accomplished. Our Soul Canyon developmental process, which I've got lined out on your handout, is really taking a look at where am I at and where do I want to go. But our step in the beginning is, here's our vision of where we want to go, and then assess our current reality. And then you build baby steps to get there. And that's an 8-week coaching program. So I'm not really going to go into that too much in this, but one of the things that I will do is tell you that you need to have SMART goals that you have got in place so that you know when you get there. So those are those milestones. Did I make it? Am I measuring? Have I your matrix, if you will? So many people right now are struggling because they've looked at their matrix and haven't made it for 2024. Well, did you make some of it? Have you seriously gotten to some of it? It's not too late to get a little bit further down that road and not give up. I had a friend one time that her and I were working on losing weight together, and she was a little different than me. I don't quite handle things the same way she did, and so that's why she wanted to partner with me. Is that she was one of those people that if she ate a piece of cake that wasn't on her diet, she would later eat the whole cake, like later in the day. And she's like, I ate a whole cake. And I'm like, what? Because there is a mindset. I've always had a growth mindset, but there is a mindset that says, give up. I ate one piece of cake, I might as well eat the whole cake. But when you've got a growth mindset, when you've got that goal-oriented mindset, you don't fall into that trap because you're measuring and you're doing the steps. You realize that sometimes you might not make it, but you're still going to get back up on your feet and go. I've included in your handout one of our goal worksheets, and it is a really great way to keep track of what you've accomplished. But on page 3, and we're going to talk about your journal. I am going to stop my share for a second. Escape that. Stop the share. I'm going to stop my share for a second because I really want to find out what you want to accomplish in 2025. So when we start looking at what we accomplish and what we want to accomplish in 2025, I highly recommend grabbing a journal. They're not very much at all. I grabbed this one. It was on sale for super cheap. It's a gridded one. It has dots instead of lines. And I didn't open it because it was sealed shut. I'm not sure I can deal with this one. I may have to go get one that has lines because I don't write well on dots, but I'm too much of a free thinker. But if you start with a journal and we set up your journal in such a way, it's something that we've done for the last 20 years or more, is that we put together these journals every year. And I can go back through my journal and find out what I've accomplished, see what I've accomplished, what I want to accomplish, what I wanted to accomplish, and be able to measure whether or not I had accomplished that. It's a great motivational piece, but it's also a great way to help hold you accountable if you don't have an accountability buddy. Kevin, do you have daily to-do lists? Not to put you on the spot. Oh my gosh.
No. I'm glad you asked that, because what I typically do is if it's a to-do item, I put it directly on my calendar. So I don't keep a to-do list, but I block out a time to do it. Because if I don't do that, then I won't get it done, even if I have the to-do list. So
To-do list.
there are times that, especially if I'm in a meeting, I have my journal with me and I will write down that I need to do this, but then I try to make a habit of, as soon as I get home, all right, when am I going to
Scheduling it.
do it? Because I just know I used to be the guy that had the sticky notes everywhere, and I need to do this and do this and do this, and then nothing got done, right? Or I'd
Right.
lose the sticky note or whatever, and then it would be, oh gosh, that thing was due yesterday, right?
Right.
So I don't do that anymore.
What doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Michelle, do you do a daily to-do list?
I do. And over the years, I feel like every year I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look for a new way to do it. And every year I go back to the old paper because I do everything on OneNote, but I have found that there's a mental connection with physically writing it down and then checking off the box or putting a line through it. So I, every night before I leave my desk, do tomorrow's list of to-dos. And then while I'm drinking my coffee in the morning, I add anything to it that I forgot, and then I prioritize it, ABC. I'm of the old Franklin Covey days. So, yeah, keep score,
Well, and the thing that when Kevin was talking about having it scheduled, right? So one of the things, especially for the big things that you want to accomplish, and we talk about this more in our time management courses, but for the big things that you want to accomplish, you've got a backwards plan to get it done. And so you got to block out time in your calendar to make sure you get it done. But oftentimes what happens is then it doesn't get on our daily to-do list. And so they need to be synced. They need to get along together. And so one of the things is I'm putting together my daily, because I'm like you, Michelle, at the end of the day, I write down everything I need to accomplish tomorrow. But while I'm doing that, I'm looking at my Outlook calendar to see what my Outlook calendar has on there. And then I've got it both this way and that way, because there's so many times when, even though it's on my Outlook's on my phone too, that I can't look at my phone. I'm in a meeting. I've got my journal open. I can write a little note to myself. I can write in my journal versus, as well as I do. If you're in a meeting and you type on your phone, it looks like you're sending text messages or you're not paying attention, or those sorts of things. And so I've really found that having it in a written form and making sure at the end of the day that they all get along. So one of the things that we do when we set up our our year planner is this. And so then let me share that with you, is that you have to make sure I'm sharing. Whoops. Struggling with my share today. Share. Go back down to one of the things that we do as we're setting up this planner, right, is that we create a ritual and a space and a habit So like I said, making sure that at the end of the day, you're writing down all the things you have to do tomorrow and time blocking it on your to-do list and prioritizing it. If you make it a habit before you do work or before you shut off your computer and call it a day, it's so much easier. And I can't say enough about the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey and the Covey Principles. I can't say enough about the book Atomic Habits, because that teaches you that if you're going to end the day and you have a ritual already, build that practice in at the end of the day with a habit that you already have. Like it might be the fact that you turn off your computer. So before you turn off your computer, open up your Outlook and jot down the things that you have scheduled for tomorrow, right? So making it a habit. And then what we typically do was we will go in and start setting our goals up. So on page 1, we start with the first line of the page is our 24 accomplishments. What we accomplish, right? And list all the things you accomplished over the years. And then setting up for success, you're going to want to understand why you want to accomplish those things. And that's why I said spend some time with a journal and really dive into what's really, really important to you. What do you want at the end of 2025 to say, hey, I accomplished this? What do you want to accomplish? And one of the things, like I said, I picked something very, very obscure and then had to define it. So I picked freedom, and then I chose why the freedom was important to me and in the areas in which I wanted that freedom. And then I list out the 2025 goals on the next page. So I write my big why. The following page, I write my 2025 goals. And I do it for every piece of pillar in your life, because you're not just one-sided. I know people that are really, really successful in their careers, but their health is failing. So, or they're getting a divorce. They don't have a relationship with their children. So taking a look at all the different people in your life that you want to make sure that you nurture and care for, because if you don't take care of your relationships, pretty soon you're that forgotten person. What are you doing to grow your faith? What are you doing to spend time in areas where you find that peace and tranquility and fill your well up? Happiness. What kind of hobbies do you want to have? What do you do that really makes you excitable, that fills that tank up, that gives you joy and happiness? Because without joy and happiness, it's like drudgery going through so you need to plan time in your day to do that. I plan times for walking my dog. I plan times for working out. I plan times for doing my gratitude. Wealth can be a lot of things. It can be your work. It can be your side hustle. It can be investments. One of the things that's really important to me is community and community giving. Yesterday was was the day of giving. So what are you doing? How do you do it? Like service clubs, nonprofits, who do you want to support? Because at the end of the day, when people look back at the end of their life, so not by the end of the day, but at the end of your life, the things that you're going to remember are the things that you supported and loved and cared for, the people that you had relationships with, the things that you did. I mean, as far as like the trips and the new skills that you learned, those sorts of things all stick with you through the end of life. So if you set goals up for each area of your life, then you can take and use the next pages for documenting, your daily to-do list. The thing that I really, really enjoy, and that I talk about a lot, is the vision boards. And I do a whole weekend retreat on vision boarding, which is super fun, where we get really grounded into who we are and what we're all about, and what we want to do. And I actually do vision boarding within my journal itself. So if I'm to show you and I know I mentioned this in one of our other classes. I will show you last year's journal. And so this is my business one on the inside cover. So I use the inside 2 covers for my business, and then the back 2 for my personal. Now this particular one has a little cubby hole where you can stick important things that happen throughout the year inside, which I really like, because then special tickets or different things I can stick in there. And when I close it up for the end of the year, it stays within that year. You know, there are things that you want to keep, memorabilia for the year, that sometimes they end up in piles. You're not really sure where you want to keep it. So I like to keep it in the year that it happened. So it's a little tip. But one of the things that we do is we go through this vision boarding process and really take a look at the words that call out to you. You can do a vision statement. Like I said, looking back from December of 2025, what does your world look like today? What does your world look like at the end of 2025? And write it in a vision statement. It is seriously powerful stuff, because tapping into the law of attraction will help bring that into your life. And then I use the next few pages to do my to-do list. You know, as I go through the year, I have my daily to-do list and what I've accomplished. And I can look back, and typically I'll write down phone numbers, or, you know, when I talk to them, timeline. So I can go back and say, hey, well, on August 13th, I talked to you about team building for the Grants Pass Chamber of Commerce. And I write down, you know, how much I quoted him, all kinds of information, so that I can go back to it. Does anybody have any suggestions on that? Has anybody done screensavers for their for their vision boards? One year I did, because I look at my computer a lot, not so much right this year, but in previous years I was in front of my computer all the time. So rather than have it on, say, a vision board like this, I actually put it as a screensaver. So it would pop up and remind me.
I've done a vision board before, and I've gone to seminars on it. And I know that there's like a correlation between doing it, seeing it every day, and making it happen. I think I'll try it.
I would encourage you to try it, Michelle. One of the weird things was, a lot of times people cut out pictures and they don't even know why. I tell them, just cut out pictures that really call out to you. So on my personal one, you have to really be careful on what you put on there, because last year on my personal one, I have a picture of 2 people walking a black lab. Have you met Buddy? We weren't going to get a black lab. But all of a sudden, my vision board, now I have him. So you have to, I have one of my clients that said she was pregnant. She said it's just a huge surprise. They weren't trying, and she just announced to me that she was pregnant. And she said, we weren't trying, we weren't expecting it. It's really totally unexpected. And I said, can I see something real quick? Let me see your vision board. And she had pictures of babies in almost every one of her pictures.
It happens, yeah.
I have a brand new oven. Well, I had an oven on my vision board. I put it on there because to me, I thought I was like, meaning that I was going to do a lot more baking and stuff. But apparently I was going to do a lot more baking in a new oven.
Manifested it.
Yeah, I manifested it. So you have to really watch what you put on your vision board, because they are really powerful. When we moved to Redmond, I pulled out our vision boards from all these years, because we used to do great big huge ones. But then what got weird was, what do you do with these great big huge vision boards? Because like, they're not really art. So they ended up in a closet, right? So they're not really in front of you. But I was pulling out all these old vision boards because you don't want to throw them away. And there was a picture of a walking through a canyon with a red dog. Well, we have a red lab, and we moved right onto we moved right near a canyon where we walked the red lab all the time. And at the time, we didn't have a red dog; we had a silver dog and a black dog. But sometimes your subconscious pulls towards something that you're not even aware of. So I really encourage you to like grab your favorite adult beverage, sit down and rip out pictures and words that call out to you, and put them together in a vision board. Sometimes people do the vision board and then the goals. Sometimes people do the goals and then the vision board. But I think that kind of a combination of, because I don't finish my vision board for a while. So I go through and pull out some pictures, and then I will go through and do my goals for each one of the areas of my life, and then finish up my vision board. If that makes any sense. And then having that vision board with me allows me to look at it on a daily basis, and it brings it to life. Pictures say 1,000 words. You can't really describe a clean modern office, but you can get a picture of a clean modern office, right? But just be aware that sometimes that picture of an oven does not necessarily mean that you're going to be cooking. It might mean that getting a new oven. The fun thing about working with a journal too is the fact that my daily to-do list also includes gratitude. So I spend every day doing a gratitude process. And one of the things that I do on my daily to-do list is I will write down what I'm grateful for. Just one word. Like it could be Rob's Chex Mix. He made Chex Mix the other day, and he makes the best Chex Mix. I'm really grateful for it. I'm grateful that he cooks. Not so grateful that he doesn't clean up as much, but you know, great. The things that you're grateful for have a tendency to bring more of. The one thing I want to talk about before we go any further, though, is that sometimes we set goals and ambitions and things we want to accomplish, and we don't get them accomplished. And how many of you have felt like you shoot yourself in the foot, like your self-talk beats you up, like, oh, I'm not going to make that. I'm never going to be able to do that. One of the things that I did a couple of years ago is I went and got certified to be a positive intelligence coach, and found out a name for all those things that shoot us in the foot, our judge and our 10 saboteurs. So one of the things I highly recommend is taking a look at the book Positive Intelligence. If you ever want to take a free quiz with me and find out who's sabotaging you, just drop me an email and I'll send you a link. Another thing that I think we do as we set up ourselves for failure is we try to do too much. Our goals can become so complicated and so convoluted that we don't know where we're going. And I love this poem about being an acorn. Be like a tree, stay grounded and connected to your roots, turn over a new leaf, bend before you break, and enjoy your unique natural beauty, and keep growing. An acorn, its only goal is to become an oak tree. And one of the books that really changed my life was The One Thing by Gary Keller. And I think that was one of the driving forces behind me becoming a Keller Williams real estate agent, is that he's amazing at being able to make things simple. How many of you are familiar with the Plato rule of 80-20? 20% of your, 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. Gary Keller takes it even further in the one thing. Then he takes that 20% and he runs up through the plate, the 80-20 rule, until you get down to the one thing that you can do right now that's going to improve, get you closer to your goal. What is the one thing you can do right now? What's one thing? And you focus in on only that one thing, because when you're focused in on that one thing, you're not stressed about all those other things. And so as I've been walking through some challenging times in my life, it's like, what is the one thing I can accomplish today? What's one thing I can do today? What's one thing I can do this hour? And when you focus that, it takes all the craziness out, because we're right in the middle of some of the most crazy time in our country, in our world, the time of the year. In order to get rid of that chaos and that squirrel mind, we have to be able to stay focused in. And one thing at a time makes it so much easier and so less diffused. So I really encourage you, as you're setting your goals for your pillars of your life, that you set just one goal for each pillar of your life. Because if you set like a whole bunch of them, you're going to drive yourself crazy. You're going to feel like you didn't accomplish anything. So I really hope you guys have a really successful 2025. We've got a couple of programs coming up. Kevin will be teaching our Excel classes again next year. So thank you, Kevin. We've got December 12th, we've got a level 1. If you know anybody who needs Excel skills, who isn't familiar at all with Excel, this is a great class to jump in and try. See how you do, see what you know, learn what all those thingamajigs are called and what you can do with just the basics of Excel. Excel level 2 is my favorite, because that's, as you understand Excel, you can find that you can do all kinds of things in level 2, and then you can go into 3 and 4 and all those other crazy ones. But level 2 is really, this is how, when you're using Excel on a day-to-day basis, that's where all the sweet spot, in my opinion, is. And then Kevin, you're going to want to talk about this one. Oh, you're not doing build your brand. Shoot, I forgot to change it.
No worries.
Never mind.
That one is going to come up in the early part of next year.
Oh, why don't you go ahead and talk about it? Because you're going to do it in February, right?
Yeah. So last month we had done the building your brand, and I actually ran into a couple of people that are going to be guests of mine for part 2. That is their job, is to help people really build their brand. And so we'll have a little panel discussion and be able to chat more about that topic. So that'll be in February. Yes.
But in January, we're going to be doing, stop the share, one of my favorites, Can't We All Get Along? And it's all about conflict and how we can make it better or worse depending on what we do. How to not take things personal, how to look at mediation in a different light, how to know when to go for mediation, those sorts of things. And that is going to be the 8th of January. We're not going to do it the first week of January, but we will be doing it on the 8th of January. So be sure to get signed up for that. Anything else?
I think that's it from my end.
Oh, I really encourage you, try the vision board if you haven't done it. If you have done vision boards before, I encourage you to try to do it inside of your journal. And I encourage you to get a journal. Even if you don't do your daily to-do list, you might do a what I accomplished today list, which I think is kind of important to celebrate those wins. As we climb up the mountain, sometimes it's so hard to remember how many steps we got to get there, right? And if we take time to celebrate the wins along the way, it makes the journey a lot more enjoyable.
Indeed.
So, happy holidays, everybody. Thanks for the few of you that joined us. We'll send out the recording. And like I said, next year, we're not going to spoil you by sending the recordings. We're going to make you come to at least the YouTube channels and pick them up.
Perfect. Happy holidays. Thanks, you guys.
You too.
Happy holidays.